We are recording some of the resilient workforce interviews here. And today I've got Lily. So Lily brings a very unique perspective here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I am born in Brisbane, Queensland, and currently reside here. I work for myself at Loving Loudly and as a disability support worker. So Loving Loudly is my online gift box service for Australians, and it specialises in gifts that are practical tools for anyone navigating mental health challenges.
So isn't that amazing? Anyone navigating mental health challenges, it could be any one of us at any point in time. Why I get excited about this is I was sharing with you before, most people don't know what to do in a time of need. And uh, what tools do we have in our toolkit that we can bring out during these times? And even though sometimes we should know these things in a state of a mental health concern, all of that goes out the door. I've forgotten what uh could work best for me here. How do I regulate my emotions?
Precisely. That's
Right.
exactly what it comes down to.
And what I love about your gift boxes is that there's an entire assortment of all sorts of different tools that could be used, from or perhaps you can speak some of the ranges of products that you have, but what I've seen is like that could be really helpful is some of the tactile ones, right? So just a little aromatherapy putty. I mean, I get excited hearing that because I know how much, like when we overworked, for example, fatigue may kick in mentally, or emotional an emotional crisis, we may feel out of control, but bringing that tactile little tool back in is a great grounding exercise for those that may not like meditation, for example.
That's exactly right. Or give someone something to fidget with as well when they've got this unused energy through their body. I do like to choose items as well that, well, firstly, they're locally based and generally are from woman-run businesses who
Yes.
themselves have overcome adversity. Yes.
Mm.
So there's always a story behind the product as well. And I do try to keep fairly aligned to uh, the strategies that have worked and do work in hospitals and are taught to people when it comes to emotional regulation. So
Mm.
tactile grounding, engaging those senses, mindfulness practices, mindset adjustment, all of these different treatments are a part of the gift box. So not only are my customers getting a beautiful box with lovely products that are all quality and local products, they're also getting tools. So it's not flowers and chocolates, although I do include chocolate because who doesn't deserve chocolate when going through a life storm?
Mhm.
And it's just a really it's a fun box of hope, but those tools are there for the now, but they will empower these people with skills for tomorrow and for their network as well, because we know if one individual is regularly uh, is emotionally regulated, that they're going to be able to directly share that with the people around them, like their children or their family or the community. And that's really the win that we're looking for here, that safety within
Mm.
self and community.
Yeah, and what a great tool, because I've often had people come to me who may be going through a mental health crisis or caring for someone in a mental health crisis, and being just flabbergasted with, I don't know what to do next, and yes, the individual has to be able to be in the right mind frame to take some steps for self-care, etc. But hey, what a thoughtful gift to be able to, in a time when they're not thinking for themselves, provide a wealth of different resources. And one of the other tools that I really liked in there was I'm not sure what you call it, but mood calendar. I don't know, like mood wheel.
Yes. Oh, do you mean the feelings wheel or
Yes,
the
there we go.
notepad? Oh, the feelings wheel. Yes. Well, this one was just key for my treatment and myself and
Mm.
identifying the feelings that I was going through. I think there's over 50 feelings listed on this feelings wheel, and it really categorizes it down to some core emotions. And that's just been so key in my healing, and I include that with every journal that goes out. Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that? The work that we're doing with MindBlank is we are trying to skill up children to be able to identify what some of these emotions are, but then also to give them some clues as to if, for example, I feel angry all the time, here are some steps or actions that I can take to help regulate my mood. So walking away from the situation, or, you know, controlling your breathing, etc. So I absolutely understand the need, but here in this workplace adult space, it's really interesting. One of the other interviews I've had so far shared some research from Bryony Brown saying, you know, we've got thousands of ways that we can describe emotions, etc., but the average adult only uses 4.
Is it happy, sad, angry?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not sure.
sure.
I haven't read the book myself, but somewhere along that journey, we've lost that self-awareness, you know,
Yes.
and we're trying to do so much, trying to juggle so many things, that something as simple as that emotions wheel as a tool, you know, if we use the words to describe to our network what is happening, then of course we can get more support. There's more understanding and clarity. So I certainly am a fan of a resource like that. You know that I'm a fan of what you do.
I feel it, Ali, I do.
Thank you, thank you. And can you describe to us what other products have you kind of come across? And I'm also curious, you've mentioned that a lot of the products come from local businesses that are women led, that have their own stories, you know. I want to hear, can you describe a bit more of some of the products, and also is there a particular story that you resonate with that you could share with us all?
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, I have a box right next to me, so I'm just
Oh
going to have a quick
wow.
look in here so that I can recall exactly one. That's great. I think one of the main products I'd like to speak of first is the gratitude journals that we source. They are from a woman in New Zealand, and she's been in business for a long time, and their whole goal is to empower children and adults in the community to be the best that they can be. And it's a really practical journal. It's not only about a gratitude practice, but how to build resilience. It has so many activities included in there, so many examples of how to be grateful, how to connect with people, how to look after yourself. So another one of their products is this notepad as well, which is aimed for children. But I know so many adults that have seen it and go, oh my God, that's amazing. That's exactly what I need. And it's a what are you feeling notebook. So it actually has, you know, sad, embarrassed, annoyed, scared, anxious, and angry, but it actually has the faces. So you can recognize the emoji, which is really helpful for some people.
Definitely.
And then how is my body reacting? How can I flip this mood? It has suggestions. But the diary itself also has this daily check-in. Have I moved my body? Have I nourished myself? Am I drinking enough water? These are really basic things, but when we're in crisis, they are the last things we think about. Or the last thing I wanted to do was go for a walk when I was super stressed. I didn't trust the world. I didn't want to walk outside. That sounds horrifying.
No, I
So
hear you.
I love these products for that reason. Yeah, because it's very suggestive and it uses pictures, so it bypasses language, because that also goes offline as well, doesn't it? When we're in crisis mode.
Yeah, for sure. For me, this topic of resilience is an interesting one, because I'm starting to see some advocacy there saying, I don't want to be resilient, in terms of I don't want to have to be the person that's constantly dealing with grit and getting back up again and exhausting myself. I want to be able to let myself be soft and, you know, centered, and, you know, have times where I'm not okay, all of that jazz. But
Yes.
which I agree with. But in the workplace, one trend I tend to hear is, can you come and speak about how to avoid burnout?
Yes.
And I don't really like that topic because to me it's actually a lot of these workplaces are already seeing burnout, and you've already got people that are just at the state where all their nerves are on edge because their workload could be huge or because they are really stressed, etc. And so give me some quick fixes, you know. But what you just described being the gratitude journal or the tips to self-regulation, you know, we shouldn't need to necessarily remind ourselves of these, but we do. We do need to, because our brain is starting to go into survival mode when it's pushing our limits, when we're stressed, when we're burnt out, when there's a mental health crisis on edge. You know, these are the very reasons why early intervention could go over your head, because it's so simple.
Yes, I recall doing talk therapy maybe 7 years ago when PTSD were just so unmanageable, and I really lost it. You know, just this reminder of slowly take a breath. And it was so infuriating to me at the time. I didn't want to, I wanted to be fixed, like my old self, and be, you know, and get on with it. Always been able to get on with it. So it's just like, I know there's simple cues, and I recall how infuriating some of those things were, but in the time, that's like, it's the basics that are going to serve you, and they are the scaffolding that get you through different times in the future. And once you understand the importance of them, you'll always come back to them, I believe.
Yeah. Now, we lost, I think, some of the sound there because of the internet connection, but from what I heard or understood is it can be very infuriating when you are finally getting help, and it's something as simple as just take a breath, you know. We should know these things. But it is very important to remember. And one thing that this gratitude journal or the talk therapy does is build in these daily practices, because if we're practicing them when we're feeling good, they're going to be there for times when we're feeling adversity. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
That's so right. Is it okay if I share one more product, because I believe it's a really beautiful product, and I love the story of what it supports. Doc balms, so there's Calm Balm and Sleep Balm, and it's by a company called Gina, and it's actually from a little island, remote island from Northern Territory, called Anguru, and it is just 8 Indigenous women who collect the items from the land in a sustainable way, and these products so traditional bush medicine. And they are stunning products, but all go towards supporting this community and educating the community. So not just these 8 women, everyone that extends beyond that, and to affecting a community so far away in such a positive way, plus connecting everyday people to bush medicine, it just really makes my heart smile knowing that that's and they've got a skin range as well, which is really nice for calming, you know, sorts of different skin conditions too. But they're very lovely products that use, you know, peppermint from the land and all different types of local botanicals as well. So that one is a top seller.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I recently stumbled across a First Nations product which was actually infused bee wax, you know, but with traditional medicine for skin care products, you know, and there's so much wisdom in our First Nations people and on land and on country that is there, you know, to connect with. And I really do appreciate you sharing that story and all the ladies that are behind that story and the true intent of the wisdom in wanting to help out. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. My next question was just, why does this topic of building resilient workers resonate with you?
Sure. Well, I actually have a background in corporate HR, so I have, yeah, many years ago now. But so I have an understanding of the impact of stress workers from a business perspective as well as my own personal perspective. And a stat that Mindblank has shared before is the 13 billion lost by Australian businesses every year due to untreated health conditions through absenteeism, reduced productivity, and the compensation claims. And that's a lot of cheddar. So it resonates with me from a business point of view, but also down to the individual. Unfortunately, it's so easy for anyone to bring that stress home from work and pass it on to their family and community through being emotionally dysregulated. So it's not just one person affected by this stress or one workplace, it gets shared, and it does get passed down to little nervous systems that just aren't equipped to manage the emotional dysfunction. And this causes trauma. So that's heartbreaking to me. We know the stats of suicide well. I've been directly affected by the grief of suicide, and the rates in this country are atrocious. I'm currently doing September, and one of the stats they shared is that 6 out of 10 teenage girls are afflicted with self-harm, ideation, and poor self-esteem. And the numbers in that age group of people hurting themselves is appalling, just appalling. So it's, you know, I care so much because this resilience is for our future, you know, on a world front, and for our community as well. So I know that I get called by people who know my story quite often. And it's important that I share the skills that I've learned along the way, because no one should have to go out that way. You know, we all deserve to want to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Lilly, for your truth, your integrity, for your life mission. Oh, look, I hear you. And there was an article that I read the other day about the value of prevention and how we need to get in there early, because I know you were talking about how our state affects others and it ripples onto the effects of children around us. But this article was an interesting one because it talked of the first 2 years of our life being so predominant in preparing our brain. And if we are stressed out or expose children to trauma in those early stages, there were some stats to say that they're 37 times higher risk of suicide attempts later in life. 36% higher than the average individual, and already the statistics are not great for our children and young people, you know. So we do need to do more to improve these stats, and I do believe it's seeping into the workplace. Like, a lot of workplaces may be like unsure, is this really my role? Individuals, you know, should control their lives, etc. And I get that. My understanding is that work health and safety laws are coming in now. They're changing because workplaces can be responsible for additional stress that workers take on. And there can be some psychological hazards that different sectors put people forward for that can leave individuals a lot more vulnerable. So workplaces do have a stake here in needing to do better and protect their team. And, you know, coming from a HR background, surely you'd be aware of how important it is to build that culture right in the first place.
Absolutely.
Well, the next question was going to be what makes you unique, you know, in what you offer, but you have covered so much of that in our discussion. Me trying to replay what is your unique gift here is that certainly for workplaces that are interested in supporting individuals, or for consumers that could just be the general public or any friend, family, neighbor, you know, that wants to do more to help out in a time of need, your product offering is so very thoughtful. And it is about building resilience. So I'm so glad that you're part of this Building Resilience for Workforces campaign.
Thank you. I think self-care goes a long way. So the more we can make time for self-care and encourage that amongst our friends, family, and teams, then, you know, the more that they're going to be in a place to give back to the workplace and to community.
And why wait until we need to go see a psychologist or counselor? These are things that we can implement now. Yeah, I remember I have, like, personally, I did reach out to an EAP service that one of my workplaces were offering because I was curious. I understand my need. It was a time during lockdowns, and I remember one of the first things they said is put some boundaries in place. I felt like, what a joke, to be honest, because it's like, I don't need that reminder. Clearly, I did need that reminder, but why are we paying like such high prices for professional psychologists to tell us that, like, when there are small little gifts and gestures such as the gift that you can bring with your tools that we can share within our networks before it gets to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Just gentle reminders like, have you socially connected with someone today, rather than just getting through your to-do list and responding to emails and all of those expectations. Yeah, they go a long way to create that space and identity that will, that gives you that resilience and that strength of character.
And you just reminded me of, the last time we touched base, Mind Blank shared one of our tools, which was the self-care tool, just putting some questions in place about that social connection, whether you're a big business, small business, or solopreneur, surround yourself with others that are in similar roles to you, because we do need to talk it out sometimes. It releases stress, and the more we can do this proactively, we'll diffuse that stress. I was actually talking to my partner about that, because some of our men need to hear it, but I don't want to talk about it. But actually, it's really healthy too. Instead of just bottling it up, you're adding more stress on your shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm a big believer in you have to feel it to heal it. So, sometimes it's about, it's what people feel comfortable with. Journaling individually, that's one way of acknowledging the feelings. Talking to them, trusted, that's another. Talk is for you, but definitely, what's the other saying? A problem shared, problem halved. I do believe that one.
I like it.
Yeah.
So just question, so is there a tool that you would like to share, like thinking of those that are part of this campaign? There are some pretty passionate people out there that are wanting to do good in the workplace mental health sector, in everyday workplaces, large, small, etc. Is there a tool that, like, you would like to share that could be a good fit for them to potentially collaborate with you on?
Sure. I think the obvious thing would be to suggest the Loving Loudly boxes at this point. I'm very open to collaborating with people on what the goals are for the business and for their teams, and sourcing the products that are most appropriate for that. So I'm in the process now of curating a special box for a company-wide distribution, and that is specifically chosen for what their staff have. I'm very gender inclusive, so it's not, just for men or just for women. It's very across the board suitable stock, I suppose, that can be used. Another suggestion, I guess, that I implemented when I was in HR at my last corporate role was setting 5 minutes aside in the afternoon for a team stretch. We just had a yoga dice and we rolled it and we held the poses for 30 seconds together. And it was just everyone take that time away from their screens, come together. A couple of people didn't participate, but they came into the room and maybe they sat on the timer or were just, taking time out themselves. But just encouraging this like mental pause from the constant grind of getting things done. It really gives people permission to have this refresher, and it gives our mind a chance to have a bit of perspective as well from the workload. And obviously it's not available everywhere. Maybe this is only something you could do once a week or something like that, but it's encouraging this rest rather than only taking a break for a quick meal or a smoko, but actually let's take a proper time out and, look after ourselves. We're all important.
Wonderful. I would love to have been on your team. I'd be up for a team stretch. Mm.
We had a lot of fun with it. Those yoga dice are great. They were just from Kmart,
Okay.
but
Oh,
just
brilliant.
roll the dice. Yep.
Like that's another really good point that you've made. I know you weren't intending for it, but wellness strategies can be pretty cheap ones, you know. You
Oh,
don't always have to invest lots and lots of money. It's to get the wellness card culture right, to play the right cards is where I was going, but to get the culture right requires multiple different efforts. And I think that's why I'm really excited about this particular campaign, is because so many people are doing great things, but they're offering slightly different angles, and that's okay. There's room for competition here, you know. There's room to complement each other and add layer upon layer of change tactics, because the same old just hosting a annual Are You Okay Day may not be enough. And obviously there's some holes in that campaign as well, because we need to help share skills in what to do if people do disclose that they're not okay, you know. But yeah, there's great programs for that.
yes.
At another point we'll discuss them. But for now, like, the next question is, how can we help out? And top of my head is, I would love it for you to connect with health and well-being hats, the emotional well-being corporate roles, the work health and safety officers that are looking for wellness plans. You know, is there any specific requests you have? Who would you like to be connected with, do you think? What's your ideal? If you tapped into our network and all our stakeholders, what would you think would be a helpful gesture to help get the word out there?
Sure. I suppose anyone who's in a people management position and has that sphere of influence where you want to reassure the team that they are valued and supported, but aren't sure exactly how to constantly demonstrate that and facilitate that conversation. I'm definitely up for a chat with that. We Loving Loudly can collaborate in many different ways, and it can be the boxes that we do. We also can do subscription, so it would be a couple of tools every few months that could come out. That's another way, but I'd love to connect with the movers and shakers. So yes, the occupational health and safety officers, any fellow HR consultants, hey, how you going? Let's chat. Happy to talk about wellness. And yeah, the management, definitely think that it's important that we are speaking to staff, not just at Are You Okay Day sort of moments in the year, but quite frequently reminding staff that, you know, it's okay to not be okay, and that they're there, that, you know, they have a life outside work, and understanding, you know, checking in with probation reviews and supervisions, but actually checking in with people about their personal lives when they have their catch-ups, and just making sure that they have an understanding of who they're working with and the other external pressures that are coming into play with these people that are coming to work as well.
Yeah, I hear you there. And yeah, my final sense is, like, there's so many layers to what you just described. So definitely, like, I know we've spoken with leaders and managers that are wanting to check in on individuals' well-being, but they don't know how. So some teams have actually gone over and beyond to try and get to know people personally. And then there's the opposite end of that, where they're too friendly and not quite sure of their boundaries, you know. So all of these are lessons that we have to learn, you know, and to not be afraid of creating the ideal culture that we need, but also building skills in and amongst this wellness space to help understand how we can actually address the mental well-being picture, protect ourselves and our team along the way. And part of that solution really is where your products can come in, you know, building resilience skills and keeping wellness, you know, and keeping afloat, so that we're not just feeling, you know, the lack of morale, just dragging our feet, continuing to come in day to day.
That's exactly it. It gives people the self-awareness of what truly makes them happy and what their values are, and if they're living in alignment to that. And with that self-awareness and self-reflection, those will show up best they can in all spaces. It's just assuring them that that needs to check in with themselves, and that self-care is important.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And we'll drop in the comment box how people can get in contact with you. I really appreciate being part of this campaign.
Thank you so much.